Welcome back to Voice from the Corner. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all safe. Now, Pete, saw the live yesterday with Billy Joe. Looks interesting. Is Billy Joe making a return to boxing?
Yeah, it was a good live. Funny enough, I just done a live. I was a bit bored, nothing to do. All of a sudden, Billy Joe hopped on. He said, "I'll come on and talk about a few things, talking about cheerleaders and backslappers and all that sort of stuff." And I think there's been a lot of traffic that's gone through the site with the last video on the John Fury video. Real good, great feedback and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Billy Joe said, "Listen, I'm up for jumping on the channel and speaking about a few things." And I just asked him a few questions while we was on the Instagram live. And I said, "Look, the word at the end of everyone's lips is Billy Joe Saunders going to make a comeback?" And he said, "Look, I need to get the weight off first, but I am definitely going to come back and I'm going to fight again." I asked him how training was going. He said it's going well. The hardest thing's getting the weight off. He's always struggled with his weight, up and down with his weight and all that sort of stuff. And then we got on to talking about, cheerleaders, backslappers and all that sort of caper. And, I was asking him about who's the best trainer, you feel you've worked with. And he said, "No, I've found trainers different for different things." And he just said, "I feel I gel with Ben Davison the most. I think he's technically the best trainer I've worked with on technical side of things. And Billy Joe's a technical fighter. So it seems like that relationship has rekindled." He said, "I've had bad performances under Ben Davison, but I ain't blaming Ben for them performances." So it feels like that relationship sort of rekindled. We spoke about the state of boxing, what sort of state boxing's in at the moment, and why he's coming back. And it's interesting because before he come back, he said, "Pete, why did you like stay so long in boxing?" And I said, "Do you know what, Joe? I turned pro in 2002." And I said, from 2002 to 2010 were my best years for experience and all that sort of stuff. As it dwindled on to like the next 10 years, like although I weren't 10 years, but the next few years, I believe that boxing was becoming a lot more diluted. I've always said boxing's become more diluted from the 70s, 80s, 90s to 2000. So, and I said, I felt I could still beat some of the fighters who were at the top of the British division, which I proved, and which I proved with winning more Irish belts and things. So I said, "What is your thing for coming back?" And he said exactly the same thing. He said, "I feel now that it's a very open market. The fighters definitely ain't as good as how good they was." And it's nice to hear it from a fighter that's still current in boxing. He said there's a lot of trainers out there that have not got a clue. And I do think they do put that badge or brand on certain trainers. And I think they do pull out certain trainers. And obviously where Ben's in the spotlight, they call him Boxer Size Ben and all that sort of stuff. But I can say from experience that being around Ben and speaking to Ben, he definitely knows what he's talking about. I've never worked with Ben, obviously, but he definitely knows what he's talking about boxing wise. And all these good fighters that have gone to him seem to think that he is the right trainer for them. So again, I think it's very easy to single certain people out, but I think put them all up against the wall and get their side of the story and how they got into boxing and why they're in boxing. People don't really ever ask Ben why he got into boxing, how did you get in boxing and all that, because all these other channels are interested in is getting big views and big titles and all that sort of stuff. Yes, we are known sometimes to put titles on things to sort of attract the crowd. I mean, people are saying, "Why are you talking about YouTube boxing?" Sorry to say, all eyes are on YouTube boxing at the moment. They're not on professional boxing. And we put them titles on our show, on our things a lot of the time, just to try and draw people in and just listen to what we got to say. Because if we just say, "Oh yeah, we're talking about real stuff in boxing," you're not going to get views, and that's the madness of it. So it's not clickbait.
No, you've got to play the game of YouTube, haven't you?
What's that?
You've got to play the game of YouTube at sometimes.
Yeah, but it's, again, our channel is not clickbaiting. if we do put a title on it, we're talking about something within that title. All right, it might not be massively spoke about within the title, but it's something we're talking about within the title. I know people now are really, really like enjoying the longer episodes we're doing here. You know, the things we're talking about, and I think I can be more open, like in certain things I'm saying. And it's a lot easier than me just standing there talking to a camera to have a co-host speak to me about things in boxing. You know what I mean? And like I say, it's a lot easier and things roll off your tongue a lot easier and things like that. You know what I mean? You know, we are going to bring up news, what's going on. I mean, there ain't much news going on at the moment in boxing in general, is there really? There's not much really going on.
No, not too much.
But
bits here and there.
What have you heard? What have you been hearing in the grapevine?
Well, the biggest news I can think of for me would be Roy Jones Jr. possibly being Anthony Joshua's new trainer.
I'll tell you what, Jack. Roy Jones Jr. training Anthony Joshua. That's an interesting one. I mean, our side had more trainers than JD Sports. Joshua can't be far behind me with trainers. What can I say? Eubank. Do I think he's done a good job in Eubank? Firstly, before I do comment on him as a trainer, I comment on him as a fighter. He's a great fighter and he's a legend. You know, absolutely one of the best. But as a trainer, training Eubank, trying to use his style and try and get him moving the way he moved. For me, Eubank is a work rate man. You know, he slows fighters down and breaks them down. And it's all about his work rate and his fitness. I think making Eubank think too much, he don't get the work rate off. He needs to get off, in my opinion. For me, he's not got a Roy Jones style. He's got more of a Tom Jones style. And I think Joshua is a little bit the same. If you make Joshua think too much, he gets confused, as you see in the first Usyk fight and the second Usyk fight. I think you just got to simplify things with someone like Anthony Joshua. So I don't really agree with that coach. I'd like to see Joshua of someone like a Bashir, who was what's his name's number 2, Emmanuel Stewart's number 2. You know, and I know there was talks of him going with him, but Bashir's a no-nonsense man, a very, very no-nonsense man. And does he want a cheerleader around him, or does he want a real teacher around him that's going to tell him what's right and what's wrong? And I know I've heard he worked with him before, and the relationship didn't work out right because he weren't doing what he was telling him to do. But is there any value in having a trainer if you don't listen what he's telling you to do? I mean, again, that's only speculation. It's only what I've heard. But if it's right, it's wrong, in my opinion.
Do you think it's good for Anthony Joshua to jump from trainer to trainer? Do you think that can work?
No, but I think he's got to find the right trainer. And when people turn around and say, you know, even Joshua himself turns around, come on, I'm just going to be humble now and I'm going to go back to the gym and really start working harder. Mate, he works any harder, his arms are going to fall off. He needs to work a lot more intelligent. And he needs, and you ain't going to improve by being around the same cheerleader and backslappers. I don't know how many times I've got to say this, but, you know, you've got to be around someone that's going to teach you things what you're doing wrong. Because things I've said Anthony Joshua's doing wrong, he's still doing wrong today. Like no soft knees, you know, don't know how to hold properly around the elbows, don't know when to rest at the right times, don't know his distances right, you know, very square on with his punches. One leg is parallel with the other leg, so he can't let the right hand go properly. There's a lot more than that even. And, you know, there can be big improvements with Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. You know, even if I was with Anthony Joshua for 2 weeks, I believe I'd improve him in 2 weeks. That's if he's listening. You know, that is if he's listening to what someone's telling him what to do, or he just wants to do his own thing. He was a gold medalist at the Olympics, but there was still so much improvement. And when I say about fighters turning professional and not changing from amateurs, because there's no difference, yeah, what I mean by that is you can improve as a pro, but I don't think you need to change everything as a pro. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. Some things you won't get away with in the pros, he might have got away with in the amateurs. But silly things like fundamentals, which I don't think his fundamentals are great. He's done amazing, Anthony Joshua, and I'm not putting him down. He's done amazing and done amazing for boxing. He's done great things for boxing. You know, since Anthony Joshua, this is a lovely little one here. I've just thought about this and it makes sense. Since Anthony Joshua's lost twice to Usyk, boxing's gone more down the pan. Have you noticed that?
Well, I hadn't put it down to those two losses.
No, but it was big. There was big hype around Anthony Joshua. There was big buzzes around him at big arenas and all that. He come back from the Ruiz loss and beat Ruiz, and it was a big buzz around it again. Do you get what I mean? He carried the flag for boxing, in my opinion. You know, I know we've had Tyson Fury on the piggy bank of him, and now he's sort of taking it forward to a degree. But obviously, the Chisora fight, people are not happy with. I've got my own opinion on the Chisora fight, because who does he really fight? Who does Tyson Fury fight if Chisora is the only one really eligible? Yeah, of course you've got Joyce's, of course you've got, but they're within the same camp. You've got the bars. They're the fights we want to see, 100%. But the only fight that's simple and is easy at the moment, I'm not saying it makes sense, but it's easy at the moment. It gets Tyson back in the ring. Is Chisora. The fight, listen, I'm not into the politics side of it. I think it should be very, very simply made that he fights Usyk. Chuck all them belts in the bin. What do they really mean? You know, the best fight the best. And I've always said this, look, I'm proud of what the WBC have given me there. But, you know, they've had them belts. They've got all them belts. You know, they've got them in the trophy cabinets. I don't believe in belts. I believe in names. That's the top and bottom of it. And it's who a fighter's fault, not about what belts he's won, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? And I remember Ted Cheeseman getting a bit of an hammering for it at one point. He turned around and said, I don't care about belts. He said, I care about money, because that's what makes bricks and mortar. And I'm going to make my family secure at the end of my career. Do you know what I mean? And he got hammered for that. Why should he get hammered for that? Let's be honest. That's what everyone's in it for at the end of the day, is a few quid. You turn professional. Professional don't mean you're good. Professional does not mean you're good. I don't know how long that's took me to work that one out, right? Don't mean you're good. It means you're getting paid for something you do. And probably, I'm going to say 40% of boxers out there are not even professionals. 50%. They're not even getting paid for what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, when we go back to Roy Jones, Anthony Joshua, I think he's just going around in circles. Is he going to learn? Listen, again, he was a great fighter. Do I think he's going to learn a lot of him? Do I think he's going to suit his style? No, I don't. Do I think he'll suit Billy Joe Saunders' style? 100%. I think Roy Jones, Billy Joe Saunders would be a great, great matchup. I think it'd be a great matchup. What a trainer and a fighter to work together. Billy Joe never had the razzmatazz Roy Jones Jr. had, but he's got exactly the same sort of style. The fleet-footed movement, you know, the angles and all that sort of stuff. For me, that's where I'd put Billy Joe Saunders if I was managing Billy Joe Saunders. But I'm not managing Billy Joe Saunders. Do you know what I mean? So Billy Joe Saunders seems happy with Ben Davison. And when we talk about Eubank, on the end of everyone's lips, it's Billy Joe Saunders. I said to Billy Joe Saunders last night, what fight makes sense for you? And I said, I know what fight makes sense for you. It's as close to a YouTube fight as you can get with two real fighters. It's Chris Eubank Jr. You've both got massive profiles. You've both got massive followings on social media. You both can, you know, absolutely talk a donkey like on press conferences and all that sort of stuff. You know, you're both entertainment. So for me, that's a no-brainer. Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank Jr. Let's put a date on it. St. Patrick's Day, 2023, on the Saturday. St. Patrick's Day is a Friday, but on the Saturday, Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank Jr., 2023, St. Patrick's Day at Wembley. I know it's a little bit, it's in England, but at Wembley. What a fight that would be. And
I think it sells out Wembley.
100%, 100% that will sell Wembley out, 100%, because just their promotion alone on that will be unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, I think it's two fighters. One fighter, we're going to see what he's got left. People say he's washed up. One fighter that's, you know, he's treading water as we speak. We don't know what's going on. Hold up. If the fight gets announced with Liam Smith, which we're going to hear in the next week, apparently, in the next few days, I don't see Chris Eubank Jr. beating Liam Smith. So from a business point of view, I don't see that as a great fight. And that's the truth of it. Liam Smith is one of the most underrated fighters out there. Look at the fight he had with Canelo. And it was 3 weights below Canelo. You know.
So what do you see in Liam Smith that can beat Chris Eubank Jr.?
Very methodical, very basic, and great at the basics. Great work rate, great relentlessness, and I think he chops Eubank down, and I think he stops Eubank as well. I think he stops Eubank. Eubank's got a great chin, but Liam Smith, for me, will slow Eubank down with them body shots. I think he'll hurt him with them body shots. And
that's interesting. I don't think many people will agree with you on
that. I hope the fight happens because I believe Liam Smith is not rated as highly as what he really is. You know, and he's old school and he's learnt the right way. And you know, you watch him in fights, it looks like he's in fights, but he's a clever fighter. For me, he's a little bit. He's similar to Canelo. He's got a similar sort of style to Canelo. You know, nice tight guard, walks you down, clever. He don't just walk in straight lines. He takes steps either side, and I reckon this is the second coming of Liam Smith as well. You know that. I think Liam Smith's going to have an Indian summer. I think he's going to have an Indian summer. And will the fight happen with Eubank Jr. or will Eubank Jr. look at that fight and think, you know what, that's too dangerous for me? But Billy Joe's still out of shape. He's still not nowhere near ready to fight. So does he sit out and try and wait for a Billy Joe fight next year? I don't know. Is he serious about Billy Joe coming back? I don't know. But for me, if I was the manager and a businessman around him, I'd be saying, Billy Joe Saunders is the fight for you if he's coming back. Liam Smith is a dangerous fight. But I'll tell you what, the fans are going to be in for a treat if that fight happens. Because Liam Smith is what it says on the can, mate. He is all action, in my opinion. You know, he's class. He's a class operator. And
can I ask though, with Billy Joe and all this time away from boxing, how much does that affect a boxer?
Has he really been away from boxing though? That's the thing. You ain't seen him on social media, although he's walking about 4 stone overweight. I see Billy Joe 8 months ago in the gym, or 6 months ago in the gym.
Oh,
so
good,
he ain't really been away from it that long. And what you got to realise is a wrestler's as good as a break sometimes. When Billy Joe went to the Olympics at 17 years old, yeah, he'd boxed since he was a kid, right? So if someone like Billy Joe's had 2 years out of the ring, yeah, I don't think if his timing goes, he's banging trouble. But if he finds he's got his timing back and everything's going right in the gym and the sparring's going right and all that, because let's not forget, he's been beat by one of the best people on the planet in this era, yeah, in this 2000 and whatever era, yeah, right? Because I don't like to say because there's so many different fighters out there, but he's been beaten by him, and yeah, he did get beaten, did get stopped in what round he got stopped in, but he was in the fight, he was winning the fight, but I'm not going to say he was winning. He would have won the fight because it's a 12-round fight and he got stopped. So I'm not going to say that. But he showed that he can be at that level. But for me, Billy Joe Saunders he's been step, and they've gone like steps like that. Although he's been a world champion, there's steps like that, and he's gone from that to that. Yeah, instead of fighting another elite. I say an elite journeyman. It sounds mad, but an elite journeyman in the likes of like Jacobs. Because I think he'd have learnt a lot out of the Jacobs fight. Jacobs is really man. I know he's a world champion, but I'm on about elite fighters.
Yeah.
Right? So I think he would have learnt a lot out of that fight. I think Golovkin would have been a better fight to go for before Canelo. Right? But it is what it is. If my nan had balls, it'd be my granddad. So it happened in that way. So yeah. I do think Billy Joe could come back straight into a Eubank fight, though. Without a doubt, he could definitely come straight back into Eubank. I don't think he should mess about having warm-up fights and all that business. I think he should bring in top-class sparring, you know, bring some serious sparring in for that fight and fight Eubank. Just come back, win or lose, go out with a bang. And he's going to get a truckload of money for it. As he said, they both get a truckload of money for it, you know. But listen, if we are going to get that fight, we won't get it December the 17th now, will we? They was talking December the 17th about Liam Smith and Eubank. Even if we get it early January, it's going to be a nice New Year's Eve and a New Year's present, because that's a cracking fight. And like I say, for me, Liam Smith needs to be like highlighted and brought out to the forefront. You know what I mean? Because he's definitely boxed in a lot better company, and we can't even argue that, than Eubank Jr. Do you know what I mean? You know, and for me, that is a great fight, and they're the fights we need for boxing to become the sport again.
Thank you everyone for watching. Due to the technical difficulties, we've had to cut this one short, but we'll be back very soon, and everything we've missed out from this episode will be in the next episode. So please make sure to subscribe, get that notification bell ringing so you're updated on whenever we've uploaded a video. Make sure to like, leave a comment, because we want to hear what you have to say. And make sure you subscribe for more Voice from the Corner content. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you for the next one.